I want to get some more legal analysis of this as we bring in Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett. Greg, it seems, I'll let you be the professional here, I look at the Pentagon Papers, I look at that 6-3 landmark Supreme Court decision. We're talking about stolen materials published by the New York Times. They won that case when they joined with the Washington Post. What is your take on this case?
And more recently, when Donald Trump's tax returns were stolen, did the DOJ go and the FBI go barging through the doors of journalists at the New York Times? Of course they didn't. You know, what the Southern District of New York and the Department of Justice done to James O'Keefe and his fellow journalists is outrageous, and it's lawlessness. And I laughed a moment ago when they said, in the search warrant, the crime was identified as misprision of felony, which is a dusty old law that is a joke that is not enforced anymore. It says you have a duty to notify law enforcement. Today, that only applies to public officials. First of all, this isn't a federal case. This is a state case. The theft of a diary, for God's sakes. Why are the feds involved in this? Yes, there are 9 federal statutes on theft, but they all deal with theft of government property. This isn't government property. Second of all, Merrick Garland's dirty fingerprints are all over this because under DOJ rules, he has to sign off on a warrant or a subpoena for a news organization. Third, this is his order 4 months ago. Merrick Garland, there's his signature, prohibiting warrants and subpoenas on news organizations and journalists related to leak cases. And the standards he sets forth here, protection of First Amendment rights, apply to this case, which he is ignoring. And finally, he's ignored the federal regulations that require him and the DOJ to recuse themselves because of a conflict of interest. The president presides over the DOJ. The feds are not allowed to investigate a case involving an immediate family member. This is the weaponization and the politicization of the DOJ, and it's shameful.
Apparently, the source to James O'Keefe said that this diary was found abandoned. The narrative of, I guess, the president's daughter is that this was stolen. That is yet to be determined. But that's what James O'Keefe was told. Does the fact that he didn't run the story because he couldn't corroborate it, and he on his own a year ago went to law enforcement, the question I have is why now? Why at this point? What did he do wrong here? What possible crime are we looking at here?
He did nothing wrong, and there's no crime that he committed. As I say, misprision of felony is an absolute joke. And it underscores in my mind that the prosecutors in the southern districts are either idiots or morons if they think that that applies under these circumstances. He didn't print it. He handed it off to law enforcement.
But wait a minute, but this was the FBI that raided. This is the FBI with the pre-dawn raid on his house.
Look, it's disappointing that Christopher Wray would allow the FBI to be misused and abused by Merrick Garland and Joe Biden's White House in what is clearly a political vendetta. If you have information derogatory about Joe Biden, Merrick Garland will come after you with a vengeance. The law and the Constitution and the First Amendment be damned.
We know it's politicized because Merrick Garland went after Georgia's voting law, which is very accessible. He ignored Delaware's law. They don't have 17 days in-person early voting in Delaware. They do in Georgia. They don't have drop boxes anywhere in Delaware. They have them in every precinct in Georgia. And both states have photo ID requirements. So why go after Georgia? Why go after Texas if you're not politicizing? Why not go after Joe Biden's restrictive voting state of Delaware? That proves a lot.
It's corrupt.
Greg Jarrett, we're going to follow this story right to the end.